today we're going to be adjusting the valves. Alright, so the service manual says you have to adjust these fairly regularly actually, and I did the other one this morning on the other side. So you do each one, you complete it, and then you do the other side. It's independent. And yeah, I found that the other side at least was quite a long way out of adjustment. And this is done about 4,500 kilometers. So yeah, it does seem to need adjustment. So the first thing you do is you remove this thing.
Come on now, how long do you think this is really gonna last? How long can you hold the tension before they move on to the next phase?
Okay, alright, so under here we have the spark plug. So last weekend I actually changed the spark plug and the spark plug boot. So the thing about the spark plug, the boots that come with the original bike, the original spark plug boots, aren't that great actually. So I replace them with these high quality NGK ones, XD05F, and these ones are way better. I also changed the spark plugs, which is something that you might want to do if they're getting a little old as well. I mean, they're cheap, right? So it's no big deal changing those, and it's easy. You don't even have to be a advanced mechanic to do this. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get the spark plug out. And it's an NGK spark plug as well. Get this cover off, the valve cover. So we'll go ahead. Oh, by the way, I bought these today, T-handle Allen keys. So I've been using old school Allen keys like this for years, and yesterday I just had enough. I mean, trying to get these Allen bolts off using a little thing like this just wasn't working. I had some vice grips helping me, and I mean it was pretty ugly, and so I went out, splashed, and got these. I got ball head ones, which are good. So this is probably the best tool investment I've made for a long time. These things are awesome. But okay, so hopefully these won't be too tight. So lefty loosey, righty tighty, which means we want to go left to open these. And they are tight. The other side were really tight as well. I don't know if they need to be this tight. I don't know what the torque standard is. The manual gives you all this information about how tight everything's going to be, but common sense, after a while you sort of develop what's tight, a sense for what's tight, what's not, what to use anti-seize on and what to use Loctite on, and so on. So this is a type of bolt that you'd want to use anti-seize on, definitely, because of the heat that gets generated in here. And the last thing you want is to strip these bolts. So you can buy aftermarket bolts that are better than these, apparently, but I mean, I don't seem to be having any problems with the standard bolts that came with the bike, as long as they're not over tightened and you use something like anti-seize grease on them, and you're using the right size Allen key, obviously, and all that. It should be fine. By the way, it's a good idea just to test these. These are tight as well, because and look, they actually needed tightening, because I've been having some popping on deceleration lately, and one of the causes of popping is air entering. So let's get these bolts undone. Ooh, tight. Okay. Okay, and the thing is, there's actually a couple more on the this model V7, the 2012 and up in Australia, or 2013 model and up in the US, single throttle body model, has these extra bolts down here, and I didn't know this when I first tried this, and I was wondering why this wasn't coming off, but they're hidden down here. So these, oh god, this one's tight. What a disaster if you strip the thread on one of these. These don't need to be this tight. Okay. Alright, so let's get these off. Okay, all the bolts are off. And oh gosh, that wasn't supposed to happen. But okay, so there's the gasket just sticking a little bit. Alright, so there's a little hose on the back connected to this cover. I'm just going to keep that on. I mean, it would be, yeah, I mean, you could potentially take it off with not too much problems, but I like to avoid problems, so I'm just going to keep them on. I hate taking hoses off and then putting them back on. But I want these screws up, so I'm just going to pop them out like that. Okay, so I have the screws, and here it is, the guts. Just wipe these screws off first. Make sure that they're clean. The thing about engine screws is you don't want to mess with them, you know. You want to keep them clean and look after them. Nothing worse than trying to drill out a bolt that's been rounded on an engine. I mean, that's amateur night right there. Okay, so we've got a couple of clean bolts. The gasket around here looks like it's in good condition. I mean, these ones are reusable anyway, so that's fine. Alright, so, and we get a feeler gauge. That's what this thing is. I'm using a metric one. There's an imperial one, I guess, which, I don't know, people in the US use imperial ones? I don't know. Anyway, I've got a metric one here. So here are the valves. And the one closest to the front of the bike, or the exhaust pipe, this is for the exhaust, and this is the one behind it, rear of the bike. This is air intake. So this goes in, this opens, it sucks in some air, and then this opens and blows the air out, and the piston moves up and down. You can tell that I'm not an engineer, but anyway. So so the first thing we want to do is we need to rotate the engine to make sure that the piston is up and the valves are set in the right position before we adjust them. So there are two ways to do that. One way is by putting it in a high gear and rotating the rear wheel. That doesn't work for me, really. I mean, you got to get someone else to rotate I mean, it's an ugly way to do it, I think. Well, with this bike at least. You have to get a friend to sort of rotate it to do it properly and everything. There's an easier way, and that's to rotate the bolt on the alternator at the front of the bike. So let me just show you where that is. So down here, you can see that I've already removed the cover. 4 bolts. It's a plastic cover, extremely easy to remove. Yeah, just 4 bolts, and then underneath it you'll see this thing, which is the alternator, and there's a bolt in the middle there. That's the one you need to rotate, and when you rotate that, it rotates the engine. So the thing is, you want to rotate that clockwise. All right, rotate it clockwise. That's important. So you rotate that bolt using an Allen wrench like this, and that is a 24. Yeah, that's a 24 millimeter socket, as it's called here, and fits in there. We want to turn it clockwise, so we'll set that on clockwise, and as you rotate that, you'll see the valves moving up and down, and the piston will also be moving up and down inside the engine. Right, so we want to do that with one hand and do something else with the other hand, which I'll show you in a minute. We have to figure out when the piston is in the highest position, and the piston is way down that hole there. So we can use a straw. We can poke a straw down that hole and we can feel when the piston is going up and down, and we want it when it's up and when these valves are completed, opening and closing. Straw. This is what we're going to use. We're going to poke it down there. Should probably use a narrower straw actually, but this one fits, I think. Yes. Okay, fits. So I can already feel the piston down there. Alright, so we get this on. Remember, we're rotating it clockwise. We're watching these things first. And we see that the exhaust one is moving. And then the piston will start coming up. You can feel it here. And then the other one moves. Alright, so let's poke this down there and just feel what's happening with the piston while we're doing this. Okay, and then you can see the piston going down again. So we actually missed it. Going again. Okay, valve opening, closing, air intake opening, closing. Alright, and then put that down there and we should see the feel the piston coming up. And there it is, the piston coming up. Now we want to keep turning until we feel the piston is right at the very top and no further, and that's the position from where we adjust the valves from. So it's still going up, still going up. Oh, it stopped and it started going down. Okay, so we've missed it a little bit, so we'll just go back, just wiggle it a little bit. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, I think we're at the top right there. Okay, so the exhaust one runs hotter, so the gap needs to be more. 2 millimeters. Not 2 millimeters. 0.20 millimeters. This one, the air intake runs a little cooler, so that's 0.15. So let's do this one first. Air intake, so 0.15. So this one has all these different sizes here. We'll try to find 0.15 millimeters. See if it fits in there. Kind of, but not really. I mean, that's too tight. And we'll check the exhaust one, which I'm guessing is going to be tight as well. So 0.20, you can find it. 0.20. Plug that one in. And that's really tight. I mean, that barely goes in there. It's almost, but okay. So, well, let's go ahead and adjust these. It shouldn't be that tight. I mean, you should feel some friction, but it shouldn't be like you can barely get it in kind of tight. So we'll start with the, well, we got the 0.20 out, so we'll start with the 0.20. So this is the lock nut here. You adjust it basically by turning this little screw here, which is locked by this. So we'll unlock it first. Again, righty tighty, lefty loosey, so we need to go that way. Alright, so that's loose. Alright, it's really sensitive. Okay, that's about right. So the thing is, when you tighten these lock nuts, it also moves the adjustment, so we've got to hold the adjustment while we tighten it. Oh, shoot. Okay, so I actually moved it when I was, so it's probably not set now. No, it's not. Okay, we'll have to. So if you're new to this, and to be honest, I'm not really experienced at this, it can take a few tries to get it. Patience. Nope, too tight. Oh, that is it. All right. Hopefully. Oh, I'm worried that went too tight. That's kind of. I'll just loosen that. Okay. I think I know what's going on. Alright, perfect. Okay, we got it. Hopefully. And you don't have to time these like mega tight, you know what I mean? It's not like holding your engine on or anything. One last. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's that one done. So let's get the 0.150.
But you wanna know how it feels on the inside? On the inside. Do you wanna know how it feels on the inside?
Better than I thought. That went smoother. Alright, so let's put this back together. So what's this? High temperature silicone grease. I'm not sure how critical doing this is, but put a bit of grease on the gasket. I mean, you know, you don't want oil leaking, anything spitting out at your leg or anything. I guess you want to look after the gasket. I don't have a spare one either, so alright, there's that. let's put the cover back on. Start off with these little bolts that go in the middle. We already gave them a wipe before, so just put a little bit of this anti-seize on. Not too much. Throw it in there. A bit of anti-seize on that one. Throw it in. And the first tighten that you want to do is not really a tighten, you just want to get the bolts in there. You get them all in there first, and then you do this diagonal thing because you want the pressure on the gasket to be the same across it. The pressure, you don't want leakage. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit down, and then get the other main bolts, give them a bit of a wipe. Put a little bit of anti-seize on it. You don't want to put too much of this stuff on there, it'll go everywhere, so chuck it down there. Don't forget these little bolts that come with the washers that come with the bolts. Chuck them in. And again, not too tight with the spark plug. I mean, I don't know if those threads are aluminium, but with something soft like that, they feel soft, and the last thing you want to do is mess it thread up. And then put the spark plug boot back over. This little cover thing. Alright, and we're done. Almost. Don't forget to put the cover back on the alternator down here when you're done, which is also an easy fix. So, thanks for watching. That was adjusting the valves on the V7. See you next time.